Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome from the beautiful Daytona International Speedway in Daytona Beach, Florida. My name's Tyler Dittmer, joined in the booth with Will Tiller, tonight bringing you the SimRacerHub.com Truck Series, brought to you by Nazar 360 Broadcasting Network. And Will, we saw last week in the Clash how these drivers love to race on the high bank super speedways of Daytona. Tonight we have two dual races, 25 laps each, limited tires, limited fuel. What are you expecting after seeing what happened last week in the Clash?
Oh man, Tyler, it's awesome to have you up here in the booth with me this week because last week we've got an awesome indication of what we're going to see here tonight. It was calm, cool, and collected to start off that race, Tyler, and then towards the end, when the
I'm
anxiousness and the
ineligible
competitiveness
to join
really
that
picked
race
up,
at 10
that's when we
o'clock.
started to see the cautions, we started to see leaders getting wrecked, we started to
At
see
10 o'clock? What do
really
you mean?
high performance
If you're
trucks
in
getting
session
wrecked
one, you won't be
as
able to
well. So
exit
here
session two.
tonight, with only 25 laps here in each duel, I think we're going to see these drivers get shot out of a cannon and see that competitiveness and that anxiousness right off the bat here tonight.
As you said, tonight we have two duels to bring you action from 25 laps apiece, 60% fuel capacity compared to the normal fuel capacity on the trucks. That means that if we see a green flag race throughout those 25 laps, we may have to witness some green flag pit stops depending on how drivers save fuel and run their race. Are they going to ride up front? Are they going to lead the pit, burn more fuel? Are they going to ride in the back, the last truck in line, hold on to the draft and save as much fuel as they can? What is that going to do to the complexion of this race, bro?
Well, that was something we were talking about off air there, Tyler. It's really about strategy. You know, with 25 laps, of course, you're going to have to make a green flag pit stop if it stays green. Then you think about if you do get a caution somewhere in those 25 laps, do you head down pit road? Do you take care of it then? Do you stay out to try to get the lead, to try to get it to the end and make a green flag pit stop later on in the race or hope for another caution? So I think it's all about strategy here tonight, Tyler. We'll see, especially for the cars that I'd say they're running middle of the pack, let's say about 5th on down to 10th, what their strategies are like. Are they going to play follow the leader, or are we going to see a whole different strategy here to close out this race?
And like you said, this are dual races tonight, and these dual races will set the field for the Butt Kicker 200 next week, live here from the virtual Daytona International Speedway for the SimRacerHub.com Truck Series, brought to you by Nazra. And right now we're looking at the number 60 truck of Michael Allen of 979 Racing. These drivers have about 12 minutes left in their warm-up session, kind of getting used to running the track, although Michael Allen not in the draft right now. There is no qualifying tonight. Field lineup was already set last week with the Clash and how they finished. Odd finishers in the Clash in duel number 1, even finishers in the Clash in duel number 2. As we're saying this, two drivers have already locked themselves onto the front row for next week's Butt Kicker 200, and that is the number 86 of Kyle Hess in Mission 1 Esports, and the number 35 of Ricky Allen. And Ricky Allen drives for Hoosier Daddy Motorsports. So those two drivers don't really have to worry too much about where they finish tonight in terms of setting themselves up for a good starting position next week. But how do you think the other drivers are who aren't locked into any position per se, who are going to run these races?
I think the biggest name for me, it's kind of cliche to say there, Tyler, but the guy who actually won the race last week, that's Kerry Tribute up there at the top of the grid here in duel number 1. We saw him really fight through all the chaos, all the wrecks that we saw, all the cautions, all the high-pace action to close out the race, avoided all that, held on to the lead, battled towards the lead there towards the end of the race as well, was able to capture that checkered flag. So I really think somebody that worked hard to get up the grid, got that top spot, and then was able to close it out the way he did. I think Kerry Tribute is definitely a name. But then also, you cannot forget a man that we saw here come on the end of that race that almost swooped in for the win at the start-finish line, and that's Raul Meza right there. He's going to be in duel number 2. We saw him almost creep up and snatch the win from Kerry right there at the end of the race. So I think those are the two drivers to watch out for here tonight, Tyler.
And those are two drivers I think who we have to watch for any super speedway. Raul Meza being a regular from the Triple M Pulling Truck Series Friday nights from Nazareth. Always a very strong super speedway racers. We're looking at about a pack of what looks to be about 6 trucks here running, getting some practice in the draft. About 10 minutes remaining before we get up for this race. And, when we look back at other drivers from last week, we have Blanchard's Towing and Recovery Hard Luck Awards, and in duel number 1, the winner of the last night's was Jonathan White. He led a lot of laps last week, was up front a lot, and kind of got hooked by his own teammate late in the race with about 3 laps to go, and in his day early. What do you think Wiley's mindset's going to be in the race after having such a rough finish to that?
I think for Wiley, I think he took a lot from last week's race. A lot of strategy, a lot of what to do on the track. Really looking back on that race, a lot of drivers really got tangled up in unfortunate events. They just got caught up in a caution towards the middle of the pack, or it was just something where somebody got loose on the side of them. So I think for a lot of these drivers here, they showed the speed. They show that they have the trucks to win. Of course, it's like any truck race on a super speedway. There is going to be chaos. There is going to be commotion. It's how you can out survive that and be the last truck at the end of the start finish line. And I think for Wiley, I think he's got that truck dialed in just right. So let's watch out to see if he can be one of those drivers that contends in this race.
Yeah, and the other hard luck winner, Venture's trying to recover hard luck winner we'll see later on in duel number 2 is Matthew Richardson. Another driver. Got a lot of laps in this one. We'll see how that goes for him tonight in the second duel. Right now, it looks like a nice train of 5 trucks together, led by Michael. As the warm-up session's about to finish. But like you said, last week's winner of the Clash, Corey Tribune, sitting there second in line in this lane, kind of doing what he did a lot of last week, kind of just biding his time, waiting trucks, letting other trucks get into the front, and then making the move late moves.
Yeah, Tyler, but I really don't think you have time to do that here tonight with 25 laps. You can get a little comfortable, let's say, in the first 5 to 10 laps. You can kind of feel your grooves, feel your lines, feel who you're going to work with here tonight. Only 25 laps, you need to really minimize your strategy from last week, really down a lot here, and really kind of implement that same strategy as Kerry did last week, but just in a very, very short amount of time.
Looks like we're going to get a little bit side-by-side action. On the outside, you have Christopher Branch with another Triple M Point Truck Series regular, and Brian Chu in that number 51 truck. He was in a lot of the recruitment races for the SimRacerHub.com Truck Series, and he was always a name that found his way to the front. Most of races that were posted here on the he's a driver I think you have to keep an eye out for. He didn't necessarily make big flashy moves last week, but he was always around the top 5 teams when you look at the leaderboard. I think he's a driver we have to keep our eye on who could potentially steal this thing. We may not be getting enough recognition.
Yeah, definitely here, Tyler. And I wanted to ask you too here as we're watching this practice session. What do you think is going to get the job done here in these 25 laps? I know each duel is a good mix of very competitive drivers. We just spoke about some names that stuck out to us. So each duel is going to be a battle on its own. But what do you think it's going to take for one of these drivers to snatch one of these duels?
I think it's one, do we have a green flag stop? If that's the situation, it's getting off and on pit road without a penalty, getting your fuel, and then finding a drafting partner as soon as you can off of pit road. Now, if we don't have a green flag pit stop, I believe it is being in the position, end of the race, maybe sitting second or third in line to get that run coming to the finish line, making that late move off of 4. I personally do not want to be leading this pack coming off of 4 here at Daytona. I know that some drivers really prefer it, but the way these trucks draft right now, I feel like there's a distinct advantage in maybe being second or third, maybe backing up to that truck behind you a little bit and really getting a big launch down that front straightaway, coming through the trial to the checkered flag.
Yeah, and it's crazy that you mentioned that, Tyler, because that's exactly what Raul Meza did last week. You saw Kerry Tribute take him through corners 3 and 4, was really riding that momentum, and then all of a sudden, here comes Raul in that 37 truck, essentially came up from 3rd place up to almost battle for the lead coming off of 4, and it just so happened that Kerry had just enough speed to cross that finish line first. But say if we ran another lap, Raul would have passed and we would have had another battle going on in 3 and 4. So that was a great point there, Tyler.
And it's important to note that Raul Meza's teammate, Cody Knott, stayed behind Kerry Tribute through 3 and 4, and Raul Meza decided to not go with his teammate and maybe push Cody Knott, who ended up finishing 3rd, to the win in the duel, or in the clash, but instead made his own path and ended up finishing 2nd. So Warrior Racing Esports teammates finishing 2nd and 3rd, not helping each other at the end of the race. Maybe something that had to be talked about in the competition meeting for that team last week, later on in the week, and maybe looking at how they can fix that going forward. Or maybe they're just going to say at these super speedways, boys, have at it off the floor, figure it out, go for that win.
That's true, and I really think last week was a very, like you mentioned, almost like a practice session. You really got to feel the track. You got to really feel the truck there a little bit. You got to get that strategy out of the way as well. But here tonight, it's more like a shootout here, Tyler. I don't really, like you said, you're gonna have to find your draft partner. You're gonna have to find somebody to work with. As far as teammates and teamwork goes, I'm not sure if we're gonna see a lot of that here tonight with only 25 laps. I really feel like it's going to be like a free-for-all here, to use a video game reference. I really feel like it's going to be every driver for themselves. If you can get to the top of that grid, that's where you want to stay, and that's where you want to win, especially carrying that momentum into the main event next week. You want to be one of those top dogs in that race next week.
It's important to note, like you said, you may see that in the duel because the field is split. Maybe you don't have any teammates to work with. Maybe you're not around any teammates to work with in this race. Maybe it's just too difficult to find your teammate to work with them correctly or the way that you wanted to. So I think that's something these drivers also have to consider. I mean, looking down the list, we don't see a lot of teammate pairs there. I mean, we have Cody Knott and Christopher Blanchard in this duel together, but their teammates Raul Meza and Brandon Bullock are in the next duel. Donnie Lyons is in here with his teammate Brandon Broadfoot from 9-7 Racing, as well as Michael Allen. So maybe that's a team to keep an eye out. And Curtis Rogers. So 4 drivers for 979 Racing are in duel number 1 here. Maybe those 4 drivers will get together because they seem to be the largest team contingent in here.
Yeah, I really feel like if there is a team contingent in each duel, that's really what we're probably going to see here, Tyler. You're going to see them really work together, try to link up as soon as possible, push each other along, probably pit together as well if they have to. Or we could almost see a flip side of that, where a teammate could head down pit road, another teammate stays out, just so that they have somebody still out on the track just to push them along there at the end. But Tyler, I don't think these drivers are just racing here for bragging rights. I think there's something on the line here tonight in these dual races.
There is in almost every NASCAR race we do, and that is cash. That's one of the nice things about the NASCAR leagues, and makes it so competitive is that we are a money league here. All of our NASCAR leagues are for cash. They have entry fees, season-long championship prizes, points, as well as per race payouts. Every race is paid out. 30% of the field generally is paid, and then at least 30% of the pot will go to the winner of tonight's race. On top of that, season-long payouts, everyone has to pay a charter fee, and then the charter fee is what determines the points payouts at the end of the year. So there's a lot of cash on the line per race week, and sometimes even in the season-long battle, hundreds of dollars could be at stake for these drivers as they're battling here week in, week out. And of course, in the duels, there's a few playoff points, I believe, up for grabs tonight.
Yeah, and I think cash is great. That's going to be very, very much a motivator for a lot of these drivers here. But one thing that kind of gets minimized in that are those playoff points there, Tyler. I really feel like here towards the end of the season, you're going to get 2 races that are dropped. We've talked about that last week. Your 2 worst races are going to get dropped off your points. But then again, you really want to try to get as many playoff points as possible here before the regular season even kicks off, because that way you can pad up just a little bit. Maybe you have a few bad races down the stretch, you have a couple DNFs, you have to miss a race for whatever reason. Those playoff points, I really think it might push one of these drivers above that cut line when we get into those playoffs.
Yeah, as we were talking about those playoff points, the playoff points get paid out to the top 3 finishers in each duel tonight. First place gets 3 points, second place 2 points, and third place gets 1 playoff point. And I can speak to how much those playoff points matter in the Triple M Point Truck Series, as I only ended up winning 1 regular season race, but I ended up winning multiple playoff points throughout stage wins and from the duels and the clash, where I had very, very high finishes. I'm coming in with the second most amount of playoff points into the Triple M Point Truck Series playoffs on Friday nights in the Racing League contingency. So these playoff points do matter, and they will matter, especially for a lot of drivers who are competing and trying to get that Championship 4 slot. Because when it comes time at the end of the season, those Championship 4 slots, those are the ones that are going to pay out your $100, $200, $300, maybe even $500 positions in those season-long battles.
Ooh, that is some good chunk of change right there, Tyler. Especially, we've seen it before across all different leagues or racing series. Sometimes a driver can have a really good regular season, and on the flip, a driver doesn't have a very good regular season but sneaks into the playoffs. But once those playoffs start, Tyler, it's a whole different ball game. It doesn't matter how many regular season wins you have. Anybody can really win that championship at the end.
Yeah, as we have just finished our warm-up session here at Daytona. And right now, we were looking at a pack with including James Lowry. And James Lowry kind of had a wild end to his race last week. He ended up on his roof getting turned after the tri-oval, heading down to turn one. Charles Keller hits the wall, gets hooked, and almost immediately James Lowry just gets turned and up and over, and he's skinning on his roof, kind of what you would see in the old Gen 4 NASCAR Cup Series cars, where once they get backwards or turned around, especially at that high of speed, they just end up upside down.
Yeah, it was definitely a crazy finish for him. Did a little acrobatics going upside down there, Tyler. And I'm sure here tonight in these dual races, you're going to see a lot more craziness like that. Maybe a few more flips, maybe a few more 360s there on the tracks. We'll have to get our gymnastics judges books out here to give them perfect 10s if they do it just right.
Yeah, as we're looking now, right now it looks like 14 drivers have shown up for duel number one tonight. So the inside 14 row positions will be up for grabs tonight. Yes and no. Technically, Kyle Hess in that first row. He will automatically be locked on that pole position. But as we see the grid rolling off here, we'll go through our starting order set by last week's results. And like we said, winner of last week on pole, that's the number 7 truck, Kerry Tribune. Kerry Tribune winning that race for Hunter Performance Motorsports, the first win of the season in the Sim Racer Hub Truck Series, going to Hunter Performance Motorsports. That's got to get them feeling really great. As we look to the outside of row number 1, that is the Warrior Racing Esports number 26 of Cody Knott. As we go through the rest of the grid, that's number 96 starting third. That's Tori Thompson for BP Racing for Autism. On the outside, that number 3, that's James Lowry, Friendly Motorsports entry. Starting off 5th is Christopher Blanchard, another Warrior Racing Esports entry. 6th, Michael Allen, and that number 60979 Racing's entry. Starting off 7th, Jonathan Wiley, a competitive driver last week. Looking forward to seeing how he does this week. Jonathan Wiley for Hoosier Daddy Motorsports in that 00 machine, a sharp-looking 00 machine, although he needs to maybe get his paint scheme corrected there. To get that extra 0 added on. Rolling off number 8 in the 99 is Charles Keller Jr. Charles Keller runs for Hunter Performance Motorsports. Rolling off 9th is Curtis Rogers in the 65 machine for 979 Racing. 10th is Brian Chute and that number 51 Sick With It Motorsports. 38 Dan Matthews for Matthews Motorsports. Donnie Lyons 79. I believe he is an independent entry. Then Brandon Broadfoot in that 24 machine 979 Racing. And number 8 Adam Cantwell running out on the field. Adam Cantwell drives for HD Motorsports.
We've got a lot of big names here in this first duel. Cannot wait for the green flag to drop here. It looks like we are racing here in duel number 1. As Kerry Tribune is going to take us down to corner number 1 here to set the stage here for these 25-lap shootout.
Yeah, and Kerry Tribune getting through that Geico restart zone. We do run the restart zones here in the SimRacerHub.com series, so they have to go in that area. Initial start, though, you wait for that green flag from the flag man, and after that, the leader can determine how he wants to work the restarts. You see a massive block there by Kerry Tribune on Cody Knott 26, and that's going to open up that inside for Corey Thompson early on. Maybe see if he wants to get his truck out front, but kind of a late block there from Kerry Tribune early on in lap 1. So Cody Knott's going to look to the inside, turn number 3 forward.
Yeah, and a big move from Knott right there to go to the inside. Looks like he's going to drift up just a little bit to try to put some pressure on Kerry. He's going to lead them out of 4 down the front stretch right here. And as Knott's going to take him across the start-finish line, we head down to corner number 1, but Kerry's got a big run on the outside.
And Cody Knott will lead lap number 1 in duel number 1 for Warrior Racing Esports. With a familiar face behind him from the Triple M Pulling Truck Series, those two drivers have seen each other a lot in Tori Thompson 96, but it's Michael Allen pushing Kerry Tribune and that number 7 machine out front off of 2.
Yeah, we saw this last week, just the teamwork that happens with there. But we see right now a move to the inside right now, going down to corner number 3, but still Kerry Tribune is going to lead us around 3 and 4 right now with a big run from that inside lane.
Michael Allen diving down in front of Cody Knott in that 26 machine and make a quick correction. Donnie Lyons is the owner of 979 Race. He is the truth. But as you see, Michael Allen to the front here at Daytona, and he will lead lap number 2 in duel number 1.
Yeah, for Michael Allen, I spoke about how his tough luck last week, but this week he is trying to turn it all around here as he's our leader down into corner number 1, all around corner number 2 right now. That outside lane's trying to stack up, led by Kerry Tribune up there on the top, that 7 truck. It's not going to be enough right now as Allen's going to lead us down the backstretch.
And as you look at how tightly packed these cars are, cars about 4 to 5 trucks, 4 to 5 rows back, kind of dancing around. They're kind of looking to maybe see. They can't. You don't have great vision in these trucks when you're back in the back. You can't really see much, so you'll try to offset yourself from the truck in front, but that's going to slow your lane down. As the outside line can't get a big enough run down the backstretch, they'll try down here in the front stretch. But Michael Allen will lead them out of 4, coming to the start-finish line. But Kerry Tribue's got a big run with a push behind from that 99 machine.
Yeah, huge run from Kerry in that 7 truck right there. A little bit of separation that was going to kill a little bit of that momentum heading down to corner number 1. Right now they are drag racing around corner number 1 and 2 right now. Virtually identical up there, right next to one another. But Allen's going to have that run on the apex of 1 and 2. He's going to lead us down the backstretch right now. A little bit of sketchiness happening down the backstretch right now. Drivers getting out of line. It's already getting hairy just a few laps in.
And that's going to really hurt that inside line. Kerry Tribue and Charles Keller, followed by Brian Chu in that outside lane, are going to get a bit of momentum down the backstretch. Michael Allen was left out to dry by Cody as he dropped to the back of the field. He's going to have to pick up Torrey Thompson on that inside 6 machine. But Kerry Tribue should lead this lap, although Michael Allen with a great run, but Tribue will lead lap number 4 here at Daytona.
Yeah, and you see this battle already taking place, Tyler, between these two drivers up at the top. A lot of give and take right now. No separation heading down at the corner at number 1, right around the apex of 1 and 2. Allen's just got the slightest up lead right there, but Tribue's going to kill that momentum right there of Allen. He's going to overtake right there on the backstretch as we head down into corner number 3.
Yeah, Kerry Tribue just barely clear of Michael Allen on the backstretch. He is no longer clear. Michael Allen getting a great run at the backstretch, entering 3 and 4. Charles Keller not able to get to the back of that number 7 machine of Kerry Tribue very well. Torrey Thompson just doing, it seems, a little bit better job pushing as the inside line has retaken the lead with Michael Allen, but Tribue is trying to get a great run off of 4 as they come to the stripe, and that lap will be led by Michael Allen by about a fender.
Yeah, with these two drivers dominating each line, the inside and outside lanes, it's really going to hurt these drivers that are behind them, because as these laps tick down, it doesn't look like either one of these drivers want to give up their spots on the track, as Allen's going to get a huge push coming out of corner number 2 and beat our leader down the backstretch.
Michael Allen clear. He could jump to the outside, but as Charles Keller gets a run to the back of Kerry Tribue, he is no longer clear. Tribue now with a slight bit of overlap as they're going to enter 3 and 4. Just when I said that Charles Keller wasn't getting a big enough push to the back of that 7, he gives him a shot down the backstretch, but that big separation through 3 and 4 is really going to hurt them off exit as Torrey Thompson is tucked in really tight behind that 60 machine of Michael Allen.
Yeah, these guys are neck for neck right now across the start-finish line. They really want this here tonight. They want to win duel number 1, especially Kerry Tribue up there as he won the race last week. He's trying to go back-to-back like Drake here in the Sim Racer Hub Truck Series here, and then go into next week with a 3 or 2 wins heading into that main event. As you see right there, Tyler, we're going to get an onboard ride here right behind Kerry, pushing him along the backstretch. There's really no separation between these top 2 guys. You know, each driver tends to inch out just a little bit as we head down to corner number 3, and then you see the momentum lax a little bit, and you see the other driver pull out. So really no separation between these 2 drivers up at the top.
As you saw in that onboard shot of Charles Keller, he was really kind of sawing on the wheel on the back straightaway. Didn't seem super stable behind Kerry Tribue. That's going to allow Mike Allen to lead number 7 here at Daytona as Torrey Thompson tucks in back behind that 60 machine of Michael Allen. And you look at the outside lane, there are more trucks on the outside. There are 7 trucks pretty decently in a line on the outside, only 5 on the bottom. But those 5 on the bottom are staying, I would say, more consistently together. Yeah, they may not be super tight, but they're not getting the massive gaps between them like you'd see in that outside lane. But as I say, that Keller and Brian Chu are going to give a shot to the back of Kerry Tribue as he's going to try to take the lead in the 3.
You see right there, Kerry's got a big push coming from that line. As Tyler just spoke about, a lot more drivers on that top side lane. But it's Allen getting more of the speed there on the inside track right there. He's going to lead for just a little bit, but here we go, corner number 4 right here as we're taking another onboard ride here. We get to see this battle firsthand, what the drivers get to see here on the track. And you see right there, Tyler, you see Kerry get a little bit more momentum as we head down to corner number 1, but still Allen's able to compete even though his line is shorter.
And we're riding here on the gyroscopes here with Brian Chu, the 3rd truck on the outside machine for are sick with Motorsports. And you can see Charles Keller in that 99 machine with Performance Motorsports is kind of dancing side to side behind that 7 machine of Kerry Tribute. And I think that's really affecting this outside line. We have the numbers. In theory, they should be able to get clear of that inside line. But because they're not lining up well, they can't really push it all. That inside line is going to take the lead. Now it's going to clear up Kerry Tribute by a long shot on the floor here. Torrey Thompson may even look to get to the outside.
Now, if you're Thompson, do you try to throw a block on Kerry so that way you can get to that top side and ride that same momentum as Kerry did? Because with Kerry still having that momentum on the top side lane, it's really still going to be a 1-2 battle up at the top. I think once you start to get that separation, even though you want to be a good buddy, you want to push that driver along in front of you, at some point you got to start thinking about yourself here, Tyler, and start to get up on the outside lane and try to be that 7 truck, because right now, even though they're losing a little bit speed there on the top side, Kerry Tribute is still in a perfect position to possibly win this race.
As we saw in that dry oval last time through, Jonathan Wiley got really loose. Looks like he might have gotten helped. Almost lost the end of the truck and almost collided with Adam Campbell. Big machine on the bottom, about 5 rows deep. Luckily, he saved it. We stayed green, but that was a very tense moment there in the tri-oval last time through. Everyone kept it straight. It seems like no one lost the draft. Everyone's still rolling forward, which is great. As we 10 laps complete, 15 to go already in these dual races. Man,
they definitely do here as we hit the apex of 1 and 2. But right now, Tyler, we're starting to think about that strategy a little bit. Something we spoke about to start this broadcast off as we see a little bit of a wiggle.
Oh, and there's trouble.
Big wreck there on the backstretch. And there it is. That's exactly what we were talking about. I should bring out a caution there, Tyler.
Looks like they will stay green. The 99 is the only one to spin. He went down. Actually, it looks like only 2 trucks involved, but we're going to check out the instant replay right here. So it looks like the 99 just gets kind of out of shape. Brian Chu looks to the inside. 99 tries to get back in line despite not being clear. And that's just going to... 99 slides across the nose of 3 of James Lowry. That's going to damage both of those trucks. Brian Chu still in the draft. I get to see James Lowry. He may have lost that draft. The 99 of Charles Keller for sure lost the draft. So that lead pack is now down to 8. 4 on the inside and 4 on the outside. A couple drivers, multiple car links back, trying to regain that lead pack. But still up front, we have Kerry Tribute and Michael Allen. And like we were saying, though, before that incident, well, we were talking earlier, those trucks out front are burning a lot of fuel. Kerry Tribute is going to drop to the bottom in front of Michael Allen, and that outside lane will now be led by Jonathan Perry. If you've been out front this entire time, there is no way you for sure can make it on fuel. Maybe if you sat like 4th or 5th in line, maybe you could stretch that number. I don't think you could. As all a tense moment there for Jonathan Wiley. What do you think these drivers are thinking right now? Because Kerry Tribute for sure has to pay. He has been out front too.
Yeah, I think as a driver, you know, you're loving life right now. You're at the top of the grid, you're racing really well, you're holding your lines up there. But then it starts to creep in your mind that, okay, I am using up my equipment here a little bit. I am running out of fuel. My tires are getting a little bit of a wear as well. I need to pit at some point, but you don't want to be the first and only car down pit road here. You want to try to strategize with the rest of the cars. So, as you mentioned, Tyler, being the leader here is somewhat of a disadvantage. You don't know when the other guys are going to pit. You can't really strategize to that effect. If you head down pit road and you're the only truck down pit road, that's going to put you really behind the 8 ball at the end of this race.
And that's where those teammate conversations we had earlier kind of come into play. I mean, Kerry Tribute had one teammate in this race, Charles Keller, who is pretty much out of it now after spinning in that incident involved with James Lowry. So Tribute has really no friends up front at the moment. Other drivers, you know, like Michael Allen, Donnie Lyons in the 79, Brandon Brodford in the 24, Curtis Rogers in the 65. I mean, all those drivers are in this lead pack. He has friends if he wanted to pit. The 4 of them could come down pit road together, and 4 trucks can really make up time.
And talking about making up time, it looks like that top side lane has essentially disintegrated, like a Thanos snap there on the top side lane there. Tyler, there's one driver there on the top side. It is literally a Nokia snake game right now on the inside lane as we cross that start-finish line here with 11 laps to go.
And Jonathan Wiley was that lone man on the outside. He jumps to the inside, but he'll jump back to the outside to try and get around that 38 machine. It's just a lot of movement happening early on, and now I feel like the drivers kind of settled down a little bit, getting back in line, understanding where they're at. But I don't know how long that's going to last as Wiley's back to the outside of that Dan Matthews number 38.
But the only thing about Wiley there on the outside there, Tyler, as we head down into corners number 3 and 4 right now, you don't really have anybody to work with. You're just going to see drivers on the inside lane essentially pass on by you. They're going to wave to you as they're passing you on the outside lane, as you see a couple drivers start to get out there to the outside lane with him. But for Wiley, you really want to try to file back into that inside lane, try to ride a little bit of that speed, or else you're just going to keep drifting back on the racetrack.
Wiley, another driver with no teammates in this duel. He's going to get behind that Torrey Thompson 96 machine. Another driver with no teammates in this duel. So maybe if you're the 7, the 96, and the 00, maybe you're working together trying to figure out a time you can pit together because you don't have any alliances coming in, and neither do they. Maybe you can have a mutual benefit here. Work together as a group of 3, and maybe you guys have a shot to win the race later. So we are 10 laps to go already in duel number 1. Very action-packed, but right now a little bit of a lull in the action as we are single file for the most part on the inside with 2 trucks, 96 of Torrey Thompson and the 00 of Jonathan Wiley on the outside.
Yeah, as Gary Tribune is going to take us to the start-finish line here on the front stretch. Really no movement taking place right now on the track as that 7 truck has essentially been the leader here most of the race. There's been a good give and take between him and Allen up there, but that 7 truck started first, is in first place, and is trying to be first at the end of this race here as we come around corner number 2. It looks like the 7 just losing a bit of speed there on the corner. You saw that gap close just a little bit there, Tyler. I wonder if that equipment's starting to come into play now.
979 Racing is pitting this time, as I see in the driver chat. Michael Allen has said he's pitting. Donnie Lyons has said he is pitting. Other drivers may be coming as well. We will see green flag stops this time by. Brian Chu also should be one to come down pit road. Torrey Thompson on the outside. It's going to be hard to pit from that outside, but he says he is pitting, and it looks like the entire field. No, Torrey Thompson has to avoid last second. He is not going to get down on time for speed. Or does he? That may be a penalty for Torrey Thompson. Speeding entering pit road as we are 3 abreast entering pit road. Kind of hard to get single file.
Yeah, 3 wide on pit road right there, Tyler. And you see how crazy this race is already getting. We're down pit road here, so curious to see who's going to be the first truck out of here because that's going to be a huge advantage here as we count down these laps here in duel number 1.
Torrey Thompson slid through his box, but he is already out and away. It looks like some drivers may have not unchecked tires, and the leader off pit road is going to be Brian Chu in the 51. Torrey Thompson will come off second, Michael Allen third, Kerry Tribune fourth. But there may be some penalties from race control for driving through too many boxes in this duel. It looks like maybe a couple of drivers have done so we'll have to wait and see if any black flags are administered after that round of green flag stops.
Yeah, it's something to keep an eye out here as we see some of those leaders rolling out of pit road right now, trying to get back up on the speed here on the backstretch, including Kerry Tribune right there with Allen. They're side by side, but they're trying to get those trucks warmed up once again, starting to get things moving here. And once everything gets settled and shuffled out here, we're going to have probably around, I would say, give or take 5 or 6 laps here. And that's going to be quite the shootout here at the end. We're already starting to see just a little bit of a lull there, Tyler, as we went single file. But see, the drivers are already getting slicey and dicey here as we come on the front stretch.
And Brian Chu may be regretting how quickly he got pit road as that field is going to steamroll him. Michael Allen jumps to the outside. Kerry Tribune has nowhere to go and has to massively check up that inside line as he could have just piled in the back of that 51. Michael Allen will take the lead after a nice little move going around the much slower truck without drafting up in the 51 of Brian Chu of Sick With It Motorsports, led by number 4 of Adam Newber, who you'll see in duel number 2 tonight. But Torrey Thompson with an amazing run from Jonathan Wiley down the backstretch. They're looking for the lead into 3 and 4.
Yeah, as we head down into 3 and 4 right now, Brian Chu is definitely sweating inside of his truck right now. He knows he's not very fast, but he's got a train behind him, pushing him along. He is wiggling and waggling right up there, but he is racing with those guys with those fresh equipment here as we come off of 4 down into the front stretch here as we're going to have 6 laps to go across the stripe.
Looks like Brian Chu may have been the only driver to not take tires on that stop. He definitely got fuel, but it looks like other drivers took right sides. I don't know how much of a help that'll be for only a 19-20 lap green flag run. I don't know if there's going to be much of a difference, but that may be something to keep an eye on if Brian Chu can't seem to have the control or stability to make moves later on in this race. as I can say for certain, he did not take right sides on that pit stop, unlike most drivers up front.
And what about Thompson there on the outside lane? Really kind of drifted back a little bit, kind of watched everything ensue in front of him. Was oh, watch out! This is gonna get a little crazy right here. Watch out! Oh, we have contact, just the slightest right there.
Oh, the
Oh,
14 hard
and
into the
backed
wall,
out.
and that's going to bring out caution as we're going to have, it looks like, a green-white checker tonight already. Christopher Blanchard in the number 14 machine, a victim of lapped cars, not holding lines, and I think we saw Brian Chu, that 51. Yeah, he got knocked, but he was loose before then. Maybe a product of those right side tires being worn down, as you see. Christopher Blanchard went for a crazy ride there.
And my question there, Tyler, is that flip better than last week's flip from Lowry?
Lowry's flip last week was beautiful because it was hyper realistic. Didn't get caught in the fence. I mean, you can't see. I mean, real life wrecks are as pretty as what Lowry did last week. Blanchard, unfortunately, a product of netcode combined with a lap truck not holding the line as well as they should have, and Brian Shea as well getting some contact. Be interesting to see how many drivers come down pit road here. Maybe someone comes down and gets all four tires set away. I mean, you only had one extra set, so if you already took right sides, maybe not worth coming down for just lefts. But if you're Brian Chu, you come down, you take four tires, you maybe feel a little bit more confident in the moves you can make here on this green white checker. We'll probably see.
Yeah, now my question to you here, Tyler, as we're gonna get our green-white checkered here in duel number one, what are some of the things that have stuck out for you? This is your first call here in the Sim Racer Hub Truck Series. You went around for the clash last week, but what are some of the things that you've seen here out of these drivers here tonight that you're looking forward to seeing next week in the main event?
Patience is being the main thing. This is our first caution tonight. Yeah, we had a small incident earlier, but for the most part, these drivers have been really patient. They've been relatively decent at pushing. We haven't seen super aggressive pushes, and a 200 lap race that we'll see next week at Daytona. That's 80 laps. You want to see patience early on, especially when you have stage racing. You want to see drivers kind of just get into a rhythm, work together cleanly, not see a ton of cautions. Because 80 laps at Daytona, if it's a parade, caution parade, can be a very long and frustrating race for a lot of these drivers. So
and Tribute to his outside. Really kept his line, his focus. Comes home first here tonight, and a big momentum booster heading to next week's main event.
Yeah, just a fantastic duel. One caution flag, but really just great racing, super competitive all night long. And these drivers gave it their all, and hopefully we can get these drivers in really quick for a quick interview, and then get ready to start the broadcast of duel number two. But let's try and get some of these drivers in here for an interview. We'll start off hopefully first with the third place finisher of Carry Tribute. If we can get him up here, I'm trying to find him right now. Uh, but I mean, just an impressive race all night long for some of these drivers.
It really was. It was a battle from the drop of the green flag from lap number one. We saw side by side racing between 1 and 2, 3 and 4. The only caution of the night we had here tonight was a couple lapped cars got into the mix there, kind of caused a commotion there. But other than that, it was a lot of give and take, a lot of patience, like you said there. A lot of drivers just sort of waiting for their opportunity. And once that opportunity came, you saw that battle. We almost had a 3 wide photo finish at the end of this race. That just shows how competitive these drivers are.
Yeah, I just competitive race all night as we're trying to get the top three finishers into the waiting room so we can quickly do our interviews. But we'll do a quick rundown of tonight's finishing order, excuse me. Tori Thompson, your race winner. Michael Allen, second. Kerry Tribute, third. Curtis Rogers, fourth. Cody Knott, fifth. Brandon Broadfoot, sixth. Brian Chu, seventh. Adam Cantwell, eighth. Jonathan Wiley, ninth. Dan Matthews rounds out your top 10. Donnie Lyons, Charles Keller, James Lowry, and Christopher Blanchard rounding out the field. And we're going to get the third place finisher of Kerry Tribute into the broadcast booth to talk with us now, and just an impressive run all night from Kerry Tribute. We try to get him in here. Led a lot of laps, was up front nonstop, super competitive driver. So now joined by the third place finisher, Kerry Tribute. Kerry, you were up front most of the night, battling with Michael Allen early on. Green flag stops and that late caution shuffled you back to that outside to the third row, starting fifth. What did you think of the race tonight?
Thought it was pretty well ran, except for I kind of messed up going into pit road. Just locked it up a little bit too much, I think, and just let the guys get too much track position in front of me, and I fought hard to get it back. Thought we had it on the outside at the end right there, but just not enough laps.
And Kerry, I mean, your battle with Michael Allen all night, and you worked with Cody Knott, who finished third to you last week at the end. Was there any communication between you, being one of those few drivers who had no teammates in this duel? How did that affect how you were able to run that race?
Just tried to stay in the front. I mean, I know I'm pretty fast, though. Hopefully, I was hoping people would want to work with me and keep me up front as much as we could. But yeah, all those guys are real fast, and I just got behind Allen and just was pushing him pretty well. I felt he was pretty solid. I felt like I could just shove him wherever he wanted to go.
Yeah, quick correction. Charles Kelly, your teammate, was in that race. My apologies. He finished one lap down. But before we let you go, Kerry, is there anyone you'd like to thank tonight?
Yes, of course. I'd like to thank my wife, my family, everybody at the shop, A&G Compressor Parts. Just want to keep all this momentum going and hopefully do really well in the real race here on the 7th. I'm looking forward to it. I think we got a really good truck.
Yeah, well, again, thank you, Kerry, and nice to be said that you already have 6 playoff points going into the postseason if you so happen to get yourself in there. So that's a nice way to start your year before the regular season even starts. But thank you for joining us, and look forward to seeing you when we kick off the season for the Buck Kicker 200. As we are now about to be joined by our second place finisher of Michael Allen in that number 60 machine. Michael Allen for 979 Motorsports. Michael, up front most of the night, battling with Kerry Tribute. What could have you done differently after restarting sixth there at the end?
Boy, I don't know, man. It was pretty tough up there. I had a feeling that I was going to be stuck pushing Willie there, or I think it's Willie his last name there. I was really hoping to get with my teammate there that was starting on my inside, but the outside line it took off pretty quick. But that outside line came, man. I seen him coming. I knew that's about what we are gonna have. But all in all, man, the number 60 Chevrolet Silverado, pretty fast.
Yeah, and you were battling up front most of the night, and obviously running up front, burning a lot of fuel. What was it like orchestrating that green flag stop from near the front of the pack?
Well, I was counting down my laps, and I was telling my teammates we were hoping to have my teammates pit. We were all going to pit together, So I was relying on my crew chief to tell me, man, and I burned a lot of gas up front, but yeah, it's tough to save when you're out there. But I had two to go there, and I was going to run one more, and I said, you know what, guys, let's go now. So I took that, and two to go, I took that, that first one and come back out in sixth. So, it was a great race, man. I love Daytona. Chuck was fast. Hats off to the cancer patient I'm running this truck for. She's a survivor and means a lot to do this.
Yeah, and it means a lot, especially in Breast Cancer Awareness Month and that beautiful number 60 Chevy Silverado. And a great night for the most part for 979 Racing. I mean, 3 drivers in the top 6. Donnie Lyons maybe not getting the finish he wanted. But before we let you go, Michael, is there anyone you'd like to thank tonight?
No, I'm good, man. It was just Brady. Thank you. It was an awesome race. Great putting this together. Looking forward to the 500, man.
Thank you, Michael. As we now move on to our race winner, the number 96 machine of Tori Thompson for the BP Racing for Autism entry. Tori Thompson making the move late in that race to get himself to the front. Tori, I mean, how did that move come together? What was your plan going into that final restart?
I was on there as soon as I saw I was starting out in third. I know I could win the race as long as I stayed up front and out of the wrecks. When we went into one lap before fueling, I lost the bottom lane and ended up in the top lane. So I didn't think I was going to get down and be able to pull in the fuel, but I ended up pulling down. I actually almost got a speeding penalty, made it to my pit stall. I topped off with 5 gallons, and that was just enough to get me through the race.
Yeah.
If we didn't have that caution, I might have ran out of fuel.
Yeah, well, I mean, Tori, when we saw you do your green flag stop, I mean, we all remarked on how quickly you came down pit road. We were wondering if you had sped or not, and then you kind of slid through your box a little bit, had to back up, but maybe that aggressive entry might have been what saved you, so you could get out back with the main pack there before that final caution.
Yes, exactly. I didn't have any teammates in this race, so I knew I had to stay up front, and then it just worked out for me. I needed this race.
For sure, and it's awesome to see the BP Racing for Autism team getting a win here already in the SimRacerHub.com Truck Series. Tori, before we let you go tonight and before we head on to duel number 2, is there anyone you'd like to thank?
I'd like to thank Brady for keeping me in the league, Eric Zimmerman for letting me race for him, and BP for Autism. Thanks.
And thank you, Tori, and congratulations again on an amazing win here in duel number 1 of the SimRacerHub.com Truck Series. That's 3 playoff points for you heading into the season already. That's got to feel great, and we look forward to seeing you next time in the Butt Kicker 200 here at Daytona. As we now come to the end of duel number 1, as the drivers are preparing now for duel number 2, we have our league administrator, Brady LaBuff, in here. Brady, I mean, a very exciting race all night. Pretty clean for the most part. Maybe a few small minor incidents here and there. You have to be pleased with what you saw in the product tonight in the first duel.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought it was actually a great duel race. I know they had a couple of hiccups, but we'll get that cleaned up for the big race next week. But for the most part, a lot of aggressive moves and a great finish. Wow, I mean, what a finish.
Yeah, and as we finish up here, we'd like to just take a quick moment to say that we are going to quickly pause the broadcast as we switch over to the duel number 2 session. Please join us as we'll still be on the same channel, just a quick pause in the broadcast, and then we'll be over to duel number 2 to kick things off for that race so we can get that started and going here shortly.